This is absolutely devastating for the Minnesota Wild after what we just witnessed against the Montreal Canadiens, with multiple performances worth taking note, as well as how this team has performed over the past couple of games with their major stars out. This team deserved better. We're going to be breaking down this game, going over a few notes here, which are certainly going to be some things to take away heading back home and in some more very important games, as well as multiple updates here surrounding this team and what is to come over the coming days as more important games continue to drop, and another instance of the Wild losing a point and dropping back down in the standings has occurred. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Now, before we do jump into it, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. When you download Kalshi using the link below and using the partner code DIGESTNHL, you will get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the US, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, news, elections, pretty much everything. They have you covered. And whether you're in California, Texas, or Minnesota, like the majority of Wild fans, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. And for sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, player performances, so much more, all in a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. And looking at the most recent, or I should say the next upcoming game for this Wild team, I'm trading yes against the Red Wings, trading yes on the Wild win. We know that they have something big coming in this next game, and they are going to show why they are still one of the best teams in the NHL. But it genuinely is a smarter way to use your sports and news knowledge, and you can cash out whenever you want in close position. So don't forget to use the partner code DIGESTNHL. You'll get it down in the description to get a $20 bonus. And to thank you once again, Kalshi, for sponsoring this video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, going back into this game, this was one that hurts, and it hurts for a few reasons. 15 seconds left, Cole Caulfield scoring this goal, and I feel like this is something that the hockey gods saw and had them ready for this, and we're going to jump into why here in a few moments. But Vladimir Tarasenko, a phenomenal game. Another 2-goal game. Having him do this performance, another great one. Jesper Wallstedt, 4 goals, but still held us close into this game and gave the Wild an opportunity to win here. The Wild giving him zero help on being able to clear the puck out of the zone, and the first period just taking a tirade of shots. This simply was just one that hurts that you don't win. After 9 games, 4 to 5 years, 2019 the last time the Montreal Canadiens beat the Minnesota Wild, it was bound to happen, but it should not by any means happen this game. Looking at the box score as well, there's a few things that you can really point out. That last-minute goal by Cole Caulfield, just a nice shot. Alexander Carrier, the tip that should, you should never see a defenseman have that kind of tip. Philip Danault's first goal with the Montreal Canadiens, you have so many storylines dropping from their standpoint that it really just seems like their game was their own. They played their own game, and, they got I'm not even going to say lucky bounces, because they weren't lucky. They got the bounces that just went their way. And I mean, looking at Wallstedt as well, a game that really would have been, looking at Tarasenko here first, another game where you're getting 2 goals, as we saw last game against Toronto, 2 goals and 1 assist. The opportunity for a hat-trick yesterday. Had a few chances here for more tonight as well, and seeing him put up this performance over the last 4 games, and this being the game you drop, once again, it just hurts the soul, it hurts the spirit, and this is not a Wild team that will take this to heart. We know that this Wild team has been very good at moving on from losses. We saw it with the Winnipeg game, a terrible, terrible loss. A day off, get back to it, and beat Buffalo in overtime against the Maple Leafs, a 6-3 win. Felt really good there, and in this game here tonight, just, a flat-footed. It really simply was not a good enough game from majority of the players here on this team, and it's going to be nice to get another break here before this game against Detroit, where, once again, we can assume that a very big win is going to come out of that. But when it comes down to Jesper Wallstedt, this would have been the best game for him to get a big bounce back. Played great, played, very, very good, and stopped a lot of high danger opportunities and held the team in this game. Would have been good for a momentum boost and kind of like a headspace boost for him heading into the next couple of games for the Wild and whenever his next game may be. But being 1-4 in the last 5 is not something that Wallstedt should really see. Pulled in the last game against Winnipeg here in this one, and only being on the penalty, or not the penalty kill, pulling himself at the end of the game to get that extra attacker. Beautiful setup on the odd man rush, the 6-on-5 for that last 15 seconds of the game. That was, even though it wasn't a goal, a very, very high level, smart play that you can really see how that will affect this team going into what would be a playoff opportunity, something like that. That's a very good opportunity. But other than that, you see even in the game against LA, good save percentage, good one here in that game against Seattle. Should have been better here in this game. I feel like if you're giving that a percentage with high danger opportunities would be much better. And he's been a lot better than the record shows over the last 5 games. So, seeing how that kind of affects Vladimir, Tarasenko, Jesper, Wallstedt, this would have been a nice one to see due to how much they contributed here in this game. And over the next couple, it's going to be very important to see as well how the Wild do adjust. And going into these 2 games against Detroit and Florida, some late games over, I guess across the NHL comparison. But after those 2 against Florida and Detroit, still going to be 2 very important games against some of the best teams in the Atlantic. Florida not so much, but Detroit. You get then to Chicago, Calgary, Edmonton, 3 very important games, especially being in the West, and then Montreal again on February 2nd. So this is going to be a very important set of games until pretty much the Olympic break in the early part of February that you want to see this team go out on top, go hot, and get a few more wins here ahead of how things are going to play out. Now, this game still, even though we see the last game against Buffalo, Toronto, the injuries that this team has, they really took advantage of what they had and were working with. It looked great. Some updates here against, once again, Brodin, Foligno, Boldy, or Johansson, not Foligno, Eriksson Ek, and Zach Bogosian. These guys, had they been in this lineup, would have been a completely different game. You really saw some guys get tired here. At the end of the game, that last, 30 seconds, whatever it was, resulting in the last 15, the Wild were down. Had you had a full lineup, your regulars, having people not need to play more minutes than what they normally would, it likely would have been a completely different game for the Wild. It would have been a much better result. And, the injuries, they're plaguing the Wild again. But some good news on that is that these guys should be returning pretty soon. And Michael Russo put this out earlier today from John Hynes. A few updates, some good, some bad, but he did confirm that Brodin will miss the Olympics. Very unfortunate for him, but I think ultimately the best result for himself and the Wild. He wants to play, but getting healthy is his main priority, especially with how injured he's been over the last little while. There's a chance Eriksson Ek and Bogosian do return later this week. Boldy is unlikely, and not sure about Johansson just yet. So some good signs there for Eriksson Ek and Bogosian. Hopefully things are looking good for Boldy as well, and hopefully he does actually return. Still, don't want to rush him back, but Marcus Johansson as well, we want him back. He's been one of the best players for the Wild this team. So apart from Brodin, it's not looking too bad on the injury front. But like I said at the beginning of the video, it really did seem to be that one thing in specific the hockey gods chose to make sure that the Montreal Canadiens won this game. And it was Bill Guerin not selecting Cole Caulfield to the U.S. Olympic team. And the Montreal Canadiens immediately after the game did tweet this out. With Cole Caulfield goal, the clip there with U.S. Hockey tagged. And this is just something that it feels like the admin for that page is waiting for all night long or whenever he would score against the Minnesota Wild. But just seemed to be kind of that thing where Caulfield had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and he wasn't going out of this game without a goal. So once again, had things played a little bit different a couple months ago, the injury's been different, would have been a completely different game, but the Wild should not put their head down low for this game. Was one that certainly they should have won. They could have won had there been different scenarios, but played a little bit better would have resulted in a much better game. People were tired. Players were tired. A good rest coming up here that we'll get a big game against Detroit coming next. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think here. We have another video coming tomorrow about an absolutely insane report that dropped from a rumor site. Now there's, some things that are making me quite sick on that. So you're going to want to tune in, see the reaction from me, because it's not going to be very nice. And, I'll give you that warning right now because I want to get your guys' opinion as well. But that is all I have here in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.